Bonjour, Kinamagi and Ireland Indigenous, and welcome to this reading Tier 2 intervention. Today's reading Tier 2 intervention topic, I would say the Iceman, summer. To complete this assignment, you need the text and the worksheet packet for OTC. If you need to pause the video to get that, go ahead and do such. All right, so let us begin here. And today we are going to be we're going to hear the story. We're going to pick a section of the story to come up with the main idea and supporting details, to write a summary. So let's go into the story. I'm going to let it play here for you. I would encourage you to follow along as you watch this video or listen to this video.
Ötzi the Iceman, written by Jan Goldberg, illustrated by Marcy Ramsey. About 5,300 years ago, the man gently pushed aside the small brown dog yapping at his feet, tipping the basket of grain he was carrying just enough to spill. "Now see what a mess you've made." He smiled at the puppy through his irritation. The man knew he had a lot to do to get ready for the hunt. He had no time to waste as winter was closing in. A tall, dark-haired boy walked over to the area of spilled grain and began scooping it up. The man looked upon his son with pride. "You must take care of things while I'm gone." "Yes, father, I know." Together, father and son placed the grain back in the basket while the dog played at their heels. The boy took the grain to an underground pit where it would be protected during the upcoming winter. The man and his son walked slowly back to their home. The man paused to stop and rub his legs. He knew the weather would soon turn colder, which would make food scarcer. Tension would be high in the community as men who weren't able to kill enough on the hunt fought over food for their families. It was important for him to leave the village soon and hunt for red deer, ibex, and wild boar. His family would need to live off the meat during the winter. When the man returned home, he gathered his belongings together. He knew he needed to be prepared to face almost anything. Then he left his family and began his journey. Traveling only a short distance from his home, the man killed an ibex and was carrying the meat. All of a sudden, an arrow whizzed by the man's ear. Then several more flew through the air, and one landed sharply in the back of the man's right shoulder. The man clutched his arm in pain. Moaning, he reached behind with his left hand to withdraw the arrow, but could not remove it entirely. He managed to walk slowly up a hill as he heard the men behind him taking the bundle of meat he'd dropped. Making it to the hilltop, he lay down and closed his eyes for the last time. Little did the man know that his body would become frozen in ice and frozen in time, and that thousands of years later he would become known as Ötzi, the Iceman. Of course, this is just one possible way that Ötzi, the Iceman, died. We really don't know for sure how it happened. All we can do is theorize or make guesses based on the facts. Scientists collect facts, clues, before they make a theory. You can make a theory about how Ötzi died too. As you read the things we do know, think like a scientist and come up with your own theories. Do you know? The Iceman was nicknamed Ötzi by local people as a tribute to the area, Ötztal, a valley near where the Iceman died. Finding the Iceman. In September 1991, two German hikers, Erika and Helmut Seemann, made an amazing discovery. High in the Tyrolean Alps, at more than 10,000 feet, near the border between Austria and Italy, they found a hairless, frozen body. Only the head and part of the shoulders could be seen above the ice. They originally thought it was the frozen corpse of a modern climber. However, a few days later, Austrian scientist Rainer Henn came up with a different theory. The corpse was yellowed and dried, so he determined that it must have been frozen for a long time. He was right. The Iceman turned out to be about 5,000 years old. The man himself. Scientists used carbon dating, microscopic analysis, and X-rays on the Iceman's well-preserved body to gather clues about his appearance and physical condition. They determined that Ötzi was short, only about 5 feet tall, weighed about 110 pounds, had wavy brown hair, and probably wore a beard. They also figured out that he lived to be about 46 years old, an elder for that time, and was bothered by several medical conditions: a bad back, arthritis, worn joints, and a bad stomach. From Ötzi's teeth, scientists were able to theorize about his diet. He probably ate mostly bread because his teeth were ground down, as they could only be from eating grains for many years, but he probably also consumed crab apples, berries, acorns, hazelnuts, and the meat of whatever animals he could hunt and kill. What Ötzi ate: acorns, hazelnuts, ibex, crabapple, berries. Using these clues and others, scientists began to theorize how Ötzi may have died. Evidence found with the Iceman: copper axe, bow, arrows, one with traces of blood from two people, quiver for arrows, knife with traces of blood from another person, grass sheath for knife, strips of felt, birch bark container, flint, wood frame backpack, wooden stick with deer antler tip, bone awl, cuts on Ötzi's hands and wrists, ibex, wild goat meat, slowberry, stone disc on a leather string with fringe, mushrooms tied on a leather string. Tests revealing that Ötzi likely had arthritis and suffered from back pain. Long-sleeved jacket or vest made from animal hides with traces of blood from another person. Woven grass cloak, leather pouch, leather pants, waterproof shoes, fur hat, grass socks, tattoos. At first, investigators thought the Iceman got caught in a storm, fell asleep, and died from the cold. But later theories seemed to support the idea that the Iceman was killed. Blood was found on Ötzi's clothes, and wounds were discovered on his body. A number of scientists believe that the evidence supports the theory that the Iceman died from an arrow wound to his back and knife wounds to his hands. But why? Why would someone want to kill Ötzi? There are several theories. Theory 1. An accident. While Ötzi was hunting, he was accidentally shot by other hunters and then buried. Scientists think that Ötzi was hunting because of the clothing he was wearing and the equipment he was carrying when they found him frozen in the glacier. From the many scraps of material they found, leather, fur, grass, bearskin, cowhide, tree bark, on his body, scientists think that the Iceman wore leather pants and a long-sleeved jacket or vest made of deer, goat, and ibex hide with the fur side turned out, and possibly a long woven grass cloak. They guess from the clues that his shoes were waterproof and wide, seemingly designed for walking across the snow, constructed by using bearskin for the soles, cowhide or deer for the top panels, and netting made of tree bark. They think soft grass was wound around his feet to function like warm socks. Grass laces, kept dry by a leather flap, were strung through eye holes to keep Ötzi's size 6 feet snug. Scientists also theorize that the Iceman wore a hat that was made of individual cut pieces of fur, probably bearskin, sewn together. Attached to the hat were 2 leather straps that might have been used as a chin strap. These articles of clothing, scientists think, would be what one would wear going on a long trek like a hunting expedition. This belief was reinforced by the type of equipment Ötzi had with him. Here's what scientists found: a copper axe, a bow, arrows, a quiver, and a tiny knife. Scientists think that Ötzi used the bow and arrows to hunt deer and ibex, the knife to clean the animals, the axe to chop firewood, and the quiver to hold the arrows. Ötzi also carried 2 strips of felt and a small container made of birch bark. Scientists think he may have used the felt as tinder for starting fires, and the birch bark container to carry the felt. Next to the container was a soft leather pouch with 2 pieces of flint, which were probably used for making tools and for striking sparks to start fire. A 4-inch wooden stick with a tip made of deer antler may have been used for sharpening the chunks of flint. Based on this evidence and knowledge of the time period, some scientists theorize that Ötzi was hunting and may have accidentally been caught in a crossfire of arrows from other hunters. Theory 2. Murder for food. Ötzi was not killed accidentally, but was killed on purpose in a fierce battle with other hunters. Other scientists disagree with the accidental death theory. They think that while Ötzi was hunting ibex, he encountered a group of starving hunters. The hunters desperately needed a kill and did not want Ötzi taking the kill from them, so they attacked him, firing arrows. Ötzi fired back. Dr. Tom Loy, director of the Queensland National Institute of Molecular Bioscience, thinks that the Iceman fired 2 arrows into 2 of his enemies, pulling his precious weapons out of their bodies each time. His theory explains why traces of blood from other people were found on Ötzi's belongings. 1 from his knife, 2 from the same arrowhead, and a 4th from his coat. In addition to his attackers shooting arrows at him, they may have attacked him with a knife. Perhaps cuts on Ötzi's hands and wrist were from his attempts to defend himself. Many scientists hold this theory to be true, but some wonder whether Ötzi was killed for yet another reason. Theory 3. Murder for power. Members of his community killed Ötzi, a shaman, because he had become too powerful. Walter Leitner of the Institute for Ancient and Early History at the University of Innsbruck in Austria thinks that the Iceman might have been a shaman. A shaman is a physical and spiritual healer who is thought to have the capability of traveling to and from the spirit world for medicine. When scientists examined Ötzi's body, they found a large number of mysterious tattoos. The tattoos included stripes, a cross, and small bars. These weren't decorations meant for others to see, for they appeared only on parts of his body that would have been hidden by clothing. Were these 57 crudely carved tattoos found on the Iceman's ankles, knees, and calves an ancient form of acupuncture? They were located on or near acupuncture points that would be used to treat ailments that Ötzi likely suffered from, arthritis and back pain. Some scientists think that Ötzi may have worn jewelry too. When his body was found, a leather string with a fringe strung through the 2-inch disc made of white stone lay nearby. Could this mysterious object have been worn by a medicine man like Ötzi as a necklace? Near Ötzi's body, researchers also found 2 mushrooms on a piece of leather. Scientists know that this kind of mushroom can be used to fight sickness. Was Ötzi carrying them as medicine, something the hunters needed? Was the Iceman really a shaman? Do you know? A small depression was found in Ötzi's right earlobe. Did this mean that he wore an earring? A secret kept. These are just a few of the scientific theories about the Iceman. They change when the facts, the clues, change. But sometimes the clues remain the same and the scientists reinterpret the facts differently. How do you interpret the facts? What kinds of theories do you have now from the facts about how Ötzi may have died? The Iceman could have died in a vast number of possible ways. For now, though, he is still keeping the true story a secret from us.
All right. And you may listen to that story again using your original page. So we want the main idea. Let's bring up that projectable here. Actually, I want to copy the story first. Go ahead and open that up. And let's find a section to look at. And let's maybe look at murder for food on 17. This will be the page we're going to focus on. And we need a main idea. So we look at it, it almost kind of gives us a main idea here. Ötzi was not killed accidentally, but was killed on purpose with other hunters. So we can take that right in here and use my annotation tool. Ötzi was murdered. Other scientists disagree with the accident. We have hunters needed to kill. There was an arrow fight. There's blood from others. All of those would be good to place under details. Let's do it right now. Not among us, among hunters. There's blood on tools, other people's blood. Arrow in the back. Now you can turn that into a summary as some scientists believe that Ötzi was murdered, blah, blah, blah. And that's what I'm going to ask you to do. I want you to reread pages 17 and 18. You may use what I have here You may add in other details, and I want you to write a summary. That summary should be written within the Google form in your Google Classroom. Hopefully you found this story interesting. I did. I've heard about Otzi for many decades at this point, to be honest. I look forward to seeing your summaries of a section. I'm going to encourage you to pick the section that I did just so we have something to compare from. If you have any questions, please reach out to me at mireland@sagchipschool.net. Always have a minute gives you God. Minwa Bama P.